Hello everybody, welcome to the Comic Gamer Movie Show. My name's Deshaun, and today I'm here to give you my full review, spoiler free. I'm not gonna give you too much right now. I'm gonna make this spoiler free. I don't know, maybe spoiler. I'll let you know in the tag. It will say it on the outside if it's spoiler or not. I'll let you know if I deem it necessary to make a spoiler. This is my spoiler free review of Cloak and Dagger, the entire series as a whole. The last episode came on Thursday, season finale. It was only 10 episodes. Cloak and Dagger was renewed for a season 2. It's coming out I believe it's coming out the summer of 2019. So look for it then. So it's coming out next summer. It's coming out next summer around the same exact time. Runaways that's a different story for another time, but Runaways is coming out around that same time. So most of all the Marvel stuff got renewed. Runaways got renewed. Cloak and Dagger got renewed. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. got renewed. Their Jessica Jones season 3 is being worked on right now. Daredevil season 3 is coming. Luke Cage season 3 is coming. Iron Fist season 2 is coming in just one more month. Punisher season 2 is just wrapping filming. Right now is a good space for Marvel. There hasn't really been a lot of cancellations, other than Agent Carter, which was a phenomenal show, and I wanted to come back, in all honesty. If I could switch out Iron Fist for Agent Carter, I would, but, I got what I got, and I'm excited for Iron Fist. And I might talk about that little teasers for Iron Fist in a bit later on today, but today I'm here to review Cloak and Dagger. Now, Cloak and Dagger, I gave you my review of the first 2 episodes. I thought it was a strong show. I thought it's a darker version of Runaways. If you love Runaways, you're gonna like Cloak and Dagger. Let me just put it this way: if you dug Runaways, if you go on Hulu, watch Runaways. Actually, the first episode of Runaways came on after Cloak and Dagger. The last episode that came on Thursday. So if you don't have Hulu and you have Freeform, just go on Freeform and check out Runaways. If you like Runaways, you're gonna like Cloak and Dagger. And that same sentiment goes through the entire show. Cloak and Dagger is a great show. It's a good show. It's a very great show. There's been so many good shows, because I thought Luke Cage season 2 was phenomenal. I thought Jessica Jones season 2, while not as good as Luke Cage season 2 or even Daredevil season 2, I thought it was a good season 2. Like, out of all the Marvel shows, it's probably got the third best season 2. So I thought it was a good season 2. It was a good character growth in Jessica Jones season 2. And this show, Cloak and Dagger, has elements of Jessica Jones in it. It's like someone took the emotional trauma and the things that abuse, emotional abuse and emotional trauma, and the realism of Jessica Jones, and kind of splashed it together with the youthfulness of Runaways. Because that's why I think I would have given, I don't remember, I think I gave Runaways like an 8.5, but I think if I gave Runaways an 8.5, I'd probably give Cloak and Dagger as a whole an 8. But if I gave Runaways an 8.5, I'd give a 9, I'd give Cloak and Dagger an 8.5, because it's really almost neck and neck. I think the reason I didn't like Cloak and Dagger almost as much as Runaways is because Runaways had this kind of fun, this fun vibe to it. All these different characters with different personalities, and their families were all different, and unique, and fun, and interesting, and there was so much going on. Runaways was a little bit more comic booky, so I kind of leaned into it a little bit more, so I kind of liked it a bit more. Cloak and Dagger took it a little bit more serious. And sometimes, to its detriment, to its point, it worked. It worked on different levels. But let me get into the show. So Cloak and Dagger, once again, I'll go through this. Cloak and Dagger are characters that were created in, I think, the 70s, I would like to say. It's either the 70s or the 80s. They were created to be an allegory for drug use, because I think in the 80s, drugs were being used pretty rapidly. So Cloak and Dagger were, so in those days, Marvel and DC used to kind of create characters to kind of they used to create characters to tell you that drugs were bad. Like DC did that whole thing with Speedy, when Speedy was doing drugs and stuff, and Marvel kind of does that too. And they created Cloak and Dagger. In the comics, Tyrone is an African American, a black kid growing up in the streets who kind of ran away from home. Tandy's this beautiful blonde girl, grew up in this white, suburban neighborhood, ran away from home, and like it's kind of going like they're kind of created to be kind of star-crossed lovers, though as it turns out they never did kind of go down that lovers path, but like fate brought them together. And then they get kidnapped by this guy and drugged up, and that's the whole allegory for drugs are bad, because this guy was like killing people with these drugs, but for some reason they survived. Later on in the comics, it would be explained the reason they survived because they were mutants, but their mutant gene hadn't been activated yet. You know how the mutant gene is weird with the X-Men, like it activates in your puberty. Sometimes it activates and sometimes it doesn't. Well, apparently the drugs the guy was putting in them activated their mutant gene, and it's not, and they didn't get their powers from actually the drugs. The drugs just activated what was inside of them. But that's comic book Cloak and Dagger. Cloak and Dagger are classic Marvel characters. They've been in every big event. Cloak and Dagger were important in the Civil War comics. They've been all over the place. They first appear in a Spider-Man comic, hunting down drug dealers and killing them. Because in the comics, they were murderers. In the comics, don't get it twisted, they were murderers. And Cloak is and they're so interesting because Cloak has the ability to, in the show, they kind of hint at this. In the show, Cloak has the ability to do different things with his with his cloak. He can like open up portals, he can teleport. In the show he can teleport, and in the show he can see people's fears, and they kind of play with that a lot in the show, which is great. And Tandy, aka Dagger, she has the ability to see people's hopes, and she can create these daggers out of light. Now in the comics, I believe she could do more than just daggers, but so far in the show, she just creates daggers, and they found a way around it to make her really skillful at it. Because in the comics, she is fucking deadly with them daggers. Like she is on point with them daggers. She could kill a bug out the sky with those motherfucking things. And they kind of found a way to get around it in the show, which was kind of cool. But getting into the show itself, that was kind of our overview of the classic Cloak and Dagger from the comics. But this show, Cloak and Dagger, I dug it. The actor who they got to play Tyrone is phenomenal. He does a great job. Now, I was a little worried that they were making the team because if you've ever seen a picture of Cloak and Dagger, Cloak is this towering man. He looks like he should be a fucking linebacker in the NFL. Like, he is a towering man. He looks like he could be playing power forward or something. He's a big dude. And he's always got that cloak on, and you can never see within it. Like, it's always shadowy with inside his cloak. And Cloak is scary, dude. He is one of the scariest people on the planet because he's a walking black hole. He can literally open up this hole and suck shit into another dimension, into a dimension of just nothing but black. So Cloak is kind of scary. So I was like, I don't know if this kid can pull this off. But the more the show goes on, like this show does a phenomenal job of showing, especially with Cloak, how hard it is for a black kid growing up in America. It really does hit that. It hits how hard it is, not even like from a literal standpoint, from like the pressure from your parents. And that's a thing that I don't think anyone talks about enough, is the pressure from your parents. Your parents are scared shitless. Your parents are scared that you're going to get shot. Your parents are scared that you're going to do something and go to jail because of who you are and your skin. Your parents are so scared, and they keep reminding, and throughout the show, his mom keeps reminding him about these things, and he's like, and he's trying to be perfect. He's trying to be perfect for his parents, so his parents won't have to worry about him. Meanwhile, his brother had passed away, so his parents are even more up on a ride because his brother passed away, and he blames himself for his brother's death because, well, he was sort of responsible for it. I'll get into that later about this parallel between Tandy and Tyrone and the loss of their two loved ones on the same day and how it's kind of they're just crossed together. But yeah, they do a good job of hitting that vibe. He goes to this school. It's mostly a white school, and like that vibe. Like I related to Tyrone a little bit because I remember when I was younger, like way younger, when going to, when I moved to where I moved, I was to an all-black school. And then when I go to another school, when you go to another school, it's nothing racist. It's just you're not used to that when you go to an all-black school and then you go to a different school, and you're trying to get used to it. But but the thing that makes it different for me though is I went to a school back before all these, the things in the news and the fear that was like completely up into the sky. But Tyrone's going to school in today's school system, so it's a little stressing for him, and I can understand it. And he feels like he has to be perfect. He feels like he has to do everything the right way. He's got this guilty conscience. He feels like he killed his brother. He feels like he should have been the one who died because his brother had all the potential. It's an interesting thing they're doing, and you can see the darkness in his eyes. They do a great job of... I'm like, I can see this boy. Well, he's the same age as me, so who am I calling boy? He's 22, I'm 22. I can see this guy becoming that Cloak from the comics, becoming that dark, kind of baritone, big man who really doesn't... He speaks softly, he really doesn't talk all that often because he's got so much dark shit going on in his head. I could see him becoming that Cloak. I can see the seeds. It does a great job. Almost like, honestly, I almost want to take this show as the prequel, as my prequel that I'm going to go by from now on. Because I could so see this being the origin of Cloak. And his parents are great. They're greatly casted. They are both interesting and unique in their own way. His mother is a very strong, independent woman who has who really is who is the rock of the family. His father is a free thinker. He's a very down to earth father who just wants to who the death of the child hurt him almost the worst, or at least it's kind of the irony that like his mom it's weird because when his mom lost their son, she kind of went into a shell. The father was the emotional one. He kind of got emotional, and his dad does a great job. You learn more about his father and about his past, about who he used to be before he met his mom. And it's interesting. It's really good, interesting. Tyrone's family is really interesting, and the whole family is cool and interesting. Then moving on to Tandy. Great casting on that, too. I think the Tyrone guy that cast as Tyrone, a.k.a. Cloak, is a lot better. I mean, not a lot. Okay, sorry. Not a lot better. I think he's better casting, but the girl they picked to play Tandy is also a really good casting choice. She does a great job of portraying this, I've seen it before. Of portraying the girl, and you've seen it. If you've been to high school you've been to high school, we all know that girl who something happened to her. Tragedy. Maybe she was raped. Maybe she lost a father. Maybe she went through a tragic event. And she kind of becomes this wild child. And she's beautiful. And she's amazing. And she's really beautiful. And you wonder to yourself, why does this girl do all this shit? She's so beautiful. She could be doing so many other things. Yet she's out partying. She's out drinking. She's out banging dudes. It's like, it's crazy. And you just wonder to yourself, I know we all saw that girl in high school, that beautiful girl who you just couldn't understand why she was doing all that kind of crazy shit. Because she went through some traumatic shit. And with Tandy, it's exactly who she is. Except she realizes how beautiful she is. And she steals shit. Because, and the thing is, I love how they equate this whole, she's a thief. She's a really good thief. Like, she can steal shit without anyone even noticing. Like, she bumped Tyrone and, took his wallet, and I didn't even see it. That's how they meet, actually, is her robbing Tyrone. Well, that's how they meet again. And it's funny because her stealing shit, she steals because she feels like the world has taken so much. And, that's her rationality for stealing. Like, the first time you see Tandy, she's at this party, kind of dressed slutty, goes home with this rich kid just to turn out that she drugged him to knock him out so that she could steal all his shit. And that's exactly what she did. Now, she's stupid and stole some fucking tickets to an opera, and I was thinking to myself, I wonder if she goes to this opera, is that guy going to show up and probably be pissed off because he's going to be like, someone took my tickets. I wonder could it be the chick who robbed me? And that's exactly what happened. He went to the opera, and I was like, what the fuck did you think was going to happen, Tandy? I don't know what you thought was going to happen there, but okay, cool. But yeah, anywho, she's doing drugs. She's into all kinds of stuff. But her mom is the worst. Because Tandy lost her father on the same day that Tyrone lost his brother. And she deals with it differently too. She feels like, she also feels like she should have been the one who died. She feels like that death destroyed her mother. Her mom is a wreck. She lives in this trailer. She's doing drugs just as much. She's hardcore drinking. She's banging random dudes to get away the pain. Tandy's doing kind of the same thing. They don't talk. They fight all the time. Her mom's obsessed with finding the truth to what happened to her father, but Tandy's just giving up on it. And, they're a mess. And it's kind of interesting, the contrast between how Tandy and Tyrone's families handled a death. His family, Tyrone's family, it's funny. It's like Tyrone's family was hurting internally. But on the outside, it seemed like they were a perfectly fine thing. And Tandy and her mom were just externally hurting and just wrecks. They were wrecks. They were public wrecks. Tandy's not even going to school. They're just public wrecks. And as it turns, they're public wrecks. But they try to externalize it. And the weird thing is, but they believe in hope. they're public wrecks and believe in hope. And, you know, Tyrone's family wants to believe in hope, but they don't truly believe in it. They don't believe in justice or hope. And it's interesting. They do these great contrasts. There's a great argument that once Tandy and Tyrone meet up after they discover each other's powers through insane circumstances, Tandy discovers her powers when the guy who I told you you're going to find him is about to rape her, so she stabs him in the gut by accident with one of the daggers. Tyrone discovers his powers when he's just sleeping, thinking about a very dark thought, and teleports to the cop who shot his brother. So that happens. There's a lot to unpack. There's also, and once they meet back up, they have this awesome conversation that's gonna be a little dicey to me, but I thought it was a very, real conversation where Tandy's kind of telling Tyrone, like, you don't know how good you have it. Like, you have both your mom and your dad. You get to go to school. You get to live this good life. You live in the suburbs, and Tyrone's like, you don't understand. I'm black in America. There's nowhere. It doesn't matter where I live. It doesn't matter how good I have it. It doesn't matter if I'm rich or poor. Like, that, people are always gonna look at me a certain way. And then she kind of comes back at him like, oh, that's bullshit. And then he kind of comes back at her with, you're a beautiful, blonde, blue-eyed woman in America. The world is open to you. The world is open to you. You can rob people because they'll let you get close enough to do it. Like, and there was just this interesting debate going. Not debate, just this interesting of them just throwing these, social, norms at each other. Really, of you could do poor versus wealth. The fact that you're a beautiful woman versus the fact that I'm an African American boy. It's just interesting things that they were throwing at each other, and they were angry at the moment. So take it with a grain of salt. But there was just interesting things that they threw at each other. And it kind of was true because Tandy's kind of like breaking it down to him. It's like, well, you got this and that too. It's like, you don't have to steal to survive. I have to steal to survive, which is technically true because her mom doesn't have a job. So she's stealing to survive. And she's like, I got to scratch for everything I get in this world. I have to do what I got to do. I don't live in this fairy tale world that you live in. And it's just interesting, It's just an interesting contrast. But eventually, through other occasions, they do different versions of. You never see them in their classic outfit. You see Tyrone in his cloak, but you never see them in their classic, outfits. The closest you get is Tandy in a white shirt and Tyrone with a hoodie on, with a black hoodie on. So I'm sure they're gonna build up to it. But yeah, I'm not gonna spoil anything. This is like I'm just spoiler free. I enjoyed it. The season finale was a little, well, not bad, but it could have been better. I thought the season finale could have had a little bit more oomph to it. It ended on a very creepy note, which I'll get to when I do my spoiler review, probably next week. But yeah, I dug Cloak and Dagger. It has great characters. Tyrone, it has great characters, and characters who you think are gonna be something aren't. Like, Tandy starts off the show with a boyfriend who you kind of figure is gonna be an asshole. Turns out, not only who you've seen it before 1,000 times in heist movies. How many times have they done it where the girl who's with this dude, the girl's really good at stealing and shit, but as soon as the shit goes south, that dude turns on that girl fast as hell. No, he loved Tandy. In fact, when she touched him and saw his hopes and dreams was to marry her and go off with her. And another thing happened was Tandy's mom was banging this lawyer. And at first, it seemed pretty white textbook. Right to the numbers. This guy is with your mom because he can bang her. He doesn't give a shit about her. He's just screwing her. Turns out, no, he really dug his mom. He really dug Tandy. He really loved both of them. Unfortunately, bad things happened to him, and it was shocking. But the show does a lot of that, where you think because your mind is programmed to think a certain way, and the show does the opposite of that. And I kind of dug that it did that. Problem is, but to get on a little bit of the problems of it that doesn't give it to the 10s or the 9s. It takes a while for them to get used to their powers, which isn't a big deal. But Cloak. Oh no. This is what I was saying. The villains of the show are just mustache twirling assholes. And they're the most cliche villains. They're the most paint-by-the-number villains you've ever seen. I mean, they're not bad. Okay, let's put it this way. They're not noticeably, oh my god, I get it. But they're not noticeably interesting either. There's a cop who's a villain, and there's a corporate guy who's a villain. Who runs Roxxon. And they're both just kind of villains who are just assholes. They're just assholes. That's it. You know, there's nothing much else to them other than they're just assholes. They're just assholes. The season finale was a little... The season finale, you know what? The season finale actually wasn't a bad episode, but it just didn't feel like a season finale. You know what I mean? Like, the season finale of Punisher felt like a season finale. The season finale of Luke Cage left you like, what the fuck? The season finale of Jessica Jones made you go, oh my god. You know, this season finale, it felt like an episode. It just felt like an ordinary episode of Cloak and Dagger. It just felt like a normal episode that's building up to something bigger. But no, this is actually the season finale. And I think that's what kind of bugged me about it. Once after I saw it, I was like, this just doesn't feel like a season finale. Some of the music cues were just bizarre and weird wherever they dropped them. There's a couple other things that I thought of while I was watching it. But other than that, those are my really 3 complaints. But I thought the villain one was kind of a kind of poor complaint. And I thought the fact that the season finale was so weak. It wasn't a bad episode, but it was just so weak. It kind of brought the whole thing down for me because it's like, this is what we've been building to. And even the way they go about it, like stopping it, is a little cheesy. You know, and the whole thing that was going through with Tyrone's girlfriend and the whole voodoo dolls things, and there are ones destined to die, and they kept doing that, was a little cheesy too. Especially since they kept promoting throughout the entire course of the last episode that Cloak and Dagger Season 2 is premiering in 2019. So they kept, so you see this thing keep popping up across the screen that Cloak and Dagger are gonna pop up, and then you got this lady going, oh, they might die. It's like, they're not gonna die. You keep, come on. So those things bothered me. Dropped it down to about an 8, but it's still a great show. I enjoyed Cloak and Dagger. It was a lot better than I thought it was gonna be. The characters, Cloak and Dagger, are perfectly cast. The ensemble is really good, other than the villains, who are very mediocre. They're not bad villains, they're just extremely mediocre. Cloak and Dagger Season 1 is at 8. I can't wait for Season 2. Thank you for joining me on the Comic Game Movie Show, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.